Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals. We got 3 rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way today. But first and foremost, for those of you who aren't quite acquainted as to who we are, I'm Red Eyes, your ever-lovable and adorably cuddly caster, bringing you that daily dosage of butt-kickery, tomfoolery, and all-around shenaniganism, and I am not alone. I am joined by my awesome co-caster, DK. Go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Yeah, dude, I always love your intros. Always so much fun to listen to. But yeah, what's up, guys? My name is DK, all the way from South Africa, here to get involved in a little bit of the next season of the lovely campus championship. But I mean, expecting quite a bit of excitement to come through, as we know the teams have really gone through quite a bit to make it up to here.
You're absolutely right, guys. We have gone through some pretty gruesome qualifiers here just to get to these semifinals today. And now we are bringing together the best college teams, not just from the U.S., but from Canada as well. And they're going to be trying to become in the top 16 finalists to actually compete for that $8,000 prize pool.
Yeah, so quite a bit up for grabs now. The teams have been working their way through the respective weeks. So we had 3 separate weeks. Out of each week, we had 5 teams that qualified to make it up to here. And of course, we added in an extra bit of that wildcard action, right? Just to round it up nicely to our 16 teams that are going to be participating. So expecting quite, as you said, right, quite a bit of chaos and mayhem to come through.
Yeah, that's right, guys. We got Seren, we got Manic, Dark Esports, Core Esports, Road to Death, Unique Legacy, The Hit List, Third Eye, got our wild card, Emula 8, Hashtag Esports, Omega Esports, Dauntless, Based on Bullet, GNP, and Ace of Spade. And some of these teams I've definitely heard about, and some of these teams we've seen compete on numerous occasions. It's going to be a pretty interesting day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few names that we've seen. We've seen Dauntless, for instance, before. We've also had, the Hit List also make a bit of a feature here. So I'm pretty sure there could be quite a bit of excitement to come through. I know Ace of Spades also one of the teams that we've seen in the previous season. But, I mean, this is the new season. Again, the teams now have that opportunity to prove themselves and show us why they are here. And, of course, they are going to be, playing for their share of the amazing prize pool.
And as you can see, guys, what a prize pool it is. A $2,300 first place, $1,800 to second, $1,500 to third, $900 to fourth, $800 to fifth, and $700 to sixth. There's a lot of money to be made here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good payday indeed to come through.
And guys, we're going to be doing 3 matches, as we said today, and they're going to be completely different maps. We're going to be starting things off with Erangel, moving on into the wide open desert of Miramar, and then concluding the day with that lush condensed forest. Of course, I am talking about Sandhawk. And these are 3 completely different geographies. So what might work so well on Erangel might not be the strategy to go with on Miramar, and that might not be what works for you best on Sandhawk, so on and so forth. So while a team might really shine on a map like Erangel, they're going to need to remember they're going to have to continue to change up their strategies based on the situation.
Yeah, and I think that consistency is also going to be super important, right, for the success of the teams moving forward. Trying to build up some strong momentum and then be in a position where they can actually maintain that through the remainder of the games coming through for the rest of the day.
That is a huge point that DK and I have emphasized on through repetitive events. Confidence is key and momentum is huge in an event like this. You need to keep your eye on the prize, not get too discouraged if you don't place quite as well as you would hope on one map, because guys, there's only 3 matches to determine if you are going to move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, we know it is going to be some insane gameplay today, but we are going to be following it up with even more gameplay coming through tomorrow as well. So there will be opportunity, but definitely seeing that there's so few matches for these teams to play across, every single match is going to be of utmost importance.
Yeah, there's very little room for error in a 3-match qualifier. And that goes to say time and time again. We've seen it. It doesn't matter if you are a great team. You have to be a great team in the moment as well. You don't really have time to account for too much bad luck in a situation where there's literally only 3 matches to determine if you move forward.
Yeah, well, speaking about moving forward, of course, we are going to be prepping ourselves to move a little further on forward, getting ready to hop into our very first Irregals. So I would love to hear from our viewers, right, what their prediction potentially could be coming into this very first game, as we can see our flight path starting on that southern edge, moving to beautiful northern angle.
Yeah, and what needs to be said about Erangel, DK? It's basically our off-bred love child of Sandhawk and Miramar because it is the perfect middle ground between those two extremes, which does leave it fairly reliant upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting, and our participants are lucking out big time. They are met with a very centralized flight path, which is very ideal for them because it leaves them with a ton of options in terms of where they drop. It might be a little bit less opportune for us, the viewer, just because they have so many options. But you know what I always say, DK, is a more passive early game always directly translates into a more action-packed and climactic mid or in-game. So it's going to be worth the trade if that does end up happening. But right away, we are getting eyes on where people are dropping. We see Road to Death dropping very close by E8, Imula 8. And they're going to be, it looks like Road to Death is going to be dropping around that military base area. Imula 8 is going to be heading a little further on. We can see members of Dark Esports heading westbound, potentially over to the Ferry Pier, Primorsk area. It does look like Seren is going to be dropping hot. They're going to be taking opportunity at the Pachinki area, and it doesn't look like they're going to be alone. I believe that's either the hit list or Ace of Spades that they have with them. I think it's the hit list. It's tough to see from this map view. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Hit list.
But I guess I'm loving some of these names though, right? We've got Bob all the way down towards Farm and Multa, right? That of course is none other than the Based on Bullet team. So I'm loving the creative names that they're coming up here. I mean, it's going to make for quite an exciting play. But got to say, though, the spread looking quite decent as the teams have, you know, really kind of used up the space available to them. Not an insane spread. We are seeing quite a few points of contention coming through, of course. No surprise to see this happening up in towards the lovely Pachinki. But then we see a little bit more of that happening even closer towards that center zone.
Yeah, and we see this time and time again at different levels of tournaments, but it does seem to be kind of the theme of an early drop is if you drop Pachinki, you're dropping hoping for a little early confrontation. This is a general hotspot and has been throughout pretty much the entirety of the PUBG Mobile esports. And I guess ever since it really began, Pachinki has been a pretty renowned hotspot here. So I'm thinking that Seren and the hit list, we're hoping for a little early confrontation. And it looks like they just might get it. As we see Cal perched on the rooftop, hopping from roof to roof with that M4 already in hand. Very lucky to have it.
Yeah, that M4 is going to be quite important, especially with the insane steadiness that comes through, right? The control, once you really let that thing rip. But I mean, it's going to be a slow, steady wait now for Flash here to see where the rest of the team are going to be moving towards, and also what the team there from Seren are going to be looking to bring us through. But as we look at that zone, it's looking pretty good. But yeah, I mean, that was quite a lobby right there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't really find the point just yet. But of course, up comes the spray.
Yep, and we see Dimple being taken down to almost exactly half health. Luckily for him, he does have a little bit of meds on his side. He's got a first aid, he's got some bandies, and he does have a boost to utilize, so he might just be okay to heal up here. Oh, we hear some shots off in the distance. Yep, and it's going to be members of the hit list firing inbound at Seren. And we see Joker with that M16 just burst firing, trying to get a line of sight on tins, but not getting very much connecting damage, if any. It doesn't look like any whatsoever yet.
I mean, well, we've got a prediction coming in the chat saying that they think Dauntless are going to be having a little bit of a tough run, right? That they could potentially be our very first team getting sent towards that lobby. I mean, that's yet to be seen, as we do have them up in towards North George, completely and utterly uncontested. So, you know, maybe it could take a little bit of a turn. But for the meantime, I think this position up into Pachinki between the hit list and, of course, the players there from Seren, I'm curious to see where it's going to be going, because also it is so close to center zone.
Yes, I was just about to say something similar, my man, because honestly, just them having the guts to drop Pachinki coincidentally worked out in their favor, it seems, as the zone has kind of played a central position around the Pachinki area, Pachinki Gatka Ruins area. And so that does leave them in a potential, you know, they're due for some luck here when the zone shifts. Most likely, they're going to be in the next zone at least.
Yeah, there's definitely that opportunity or that chance to come through.
Well, we've got these two teams right at each other's necks here, and it is the calm before the storm, ladies and gentlemen. We see everyone just weighing out the time here, playing the game of patience. Both teams are waiting for the other to make that moment of vulnerability here, to push forward out into the open, out on the aggressive side. And when whoever does that, it's going to be met with some pretty early aggression.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see what, you know, the hit list are going to be doing. They do have a fairly decent spread I mean, they could actually start to encircle the players here coming through from Seren, or, you know, that looks like a potential opportunity here, but I think it's going to take it's all going to come down to that positioning, whether or not they can find that opportunity to strike at the opportune moment.
And poor Cal, he knows exactly where Butcher was. Oh, that might have been his brief 3-second window to strike there, and it looks like that opportunity was missed, but Cal was eagerly awaiting that line of sight. Unfortunately, not met with it, but he's still got plenty of time, guys. We are only reaching the 6-minute marker into this match at this point, and Cal is just playing the game of patience, but it looks like he is going to cook up a nade, going to make it rain hellfire on Tins if possible, and it looks like he thinks a little bit better of it, going to save those utilities.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Cole looking there to blow, you know, to blow things up, but unfortunately, it's not that's not that chance just yet. Now, Tens and the rest of the players here from Seren just going to be patiently waiting to see what will come through from the hitless. But I mean, both these teams in quite a formidable positioning, right? So they don't really have to be too stressed about their positioning in this current phase, so they can afford to spend a little bit more time here. But I'm loving the kind of approach coming through now from Seren as they're starting to approach onto the hit list, but still trying to play those angles.
And Butcher, I believe he thinks he has a line of sight on somebody in that house. We'll see if he does, but he makes it rain a nade and no such damage quite. Oh, I take that back. Joker. I didn't even see that in the kill feed. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But as you can see, Joker was taken down, and Nyx quick to finish the job. And that is going to be the first kill by Seren.
Yeah, great opening coming through now from Seren. Now they of course need to try and push the efforts even more so onto the hit list. They do have a slight advantage here, but looking at Pmcc, these buildings really make it quite a difficult angle to play at. I mean, there's so many positions that you need to be wary of.
Yeah, there's so many places to hide, so many points of cover. But not only that, but when you have two teams, even when they're this close together, when they both have that kind of compound cover, it can make it a little bit more difficult in that, yeah, you might be able to secure your knock, but the ability to secure that thirst becomes a little bit more difficult. And, oh, there's Dibble being shot right down by the hitless flash, and it looks like Revenge is served cold and fast. Now, can they acquire the thirst? Looks like the hitless is going to use this opportunity to advance upon him. Molly's being rained. Oof. Oh, and that's Tins getting a takedown on the hitless Cal. That's going to put the hitless down to Flash and Trickster, a two-person team. And Trickster going on the all-out aggressive with the UMP, not quite met with much luck there, leaving Flash all on his own, and he is utilizing that punch glitch to try to mute his footsteps, to try to find a way to escape this.
Yeah, I can't really blame Flash, you know, for trying to make a hasty retreat here. I mean, I think at this point in time, especially looking at the zone that has now taken a bit of a swing towards that northern edge, right? Still a good positioning coming through here for Flash. It does allow them a little bit of that continuation. But I'm also curious then to see what our remaining teams are going to be doing and where they're going to be moving up towards. Of course, we did see the players there from Dark Esports all the way on that very edge towards that western bridge. But now looking straight over to our next team here, of course, it's none other than GNP Esports, are going to be holding on to that Everest angle. So this will allow them some really great vantage points.
Yeah, but see, as I'm noticing, Fatty is a good way away from his teammates here. But I do have to say something here. We initially, when I saw the first zone, I said, you know, these guys are due for at least the second zone for being at Pmcc. And boy, the caster's curse is all too real. And as I am proven wrong time and time again. But as we can see, Fatty, oh, it looks like Ace of Spades going after Emula 8.
Yeah, I think it's Emulate, right? I mean, I think it could be maybe Emulate.
I think that you're obviously correct. Now that you say that, it sounds completely obvious, and I don't know how I did not put two and two together there. And we have Blinky with that 4x M4. Look at that recoil control.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ace of Spades, a team we've seen so many times before. Again, just showcasing a little bit of that talent coming through with some really phenomenal angles. And now it's all down to, you know, how they're going to play out the positioning towards this cube angle, because we know cube's such a strong position to hold.
Yeah, it is true. And Ace of Spades is a known tier 1 team in the NA community here. So we are speaking with pretty high standards and high expectations when we watch them. As you see Blinky at half health, firing away with that 4x M4, trying to get a line of sight on GNP Shaka, but not really getting much connection there. However, he does get the knock on Hazara right then and there. It's going to be a quick knock. Shaka going to try to stick a position to get a smoke on his fallen teammate to try to stick a revive, but Blinky eagerly awaiting with that M4 ready.
Oh, and the spray comes through, looking for a few of those hit markers out in the smoke. But I mean, if you blink, you could miss it. And now we see that continuation coming through on towards GNP Esports. But again, Ace of Spades holding on to such a formidable angle.
Yeah, and Blinky really weighing his options. He says, you know, do I heal up or do I fire? And to his credit, he says, we're going to fire. Oh, flash from the hit list is taken down by Dimple of Sarin. That looks like that confrontation has still been ensuing in the distance. All the while, Ace of Spades focusing on numerous teams here. It looks like they're trying to catch a line of sight on this wild card group. Look at this Nemesis just waiting. And it's a patience game, but Ace of Spades already does have 3 kills to their name at only 11.5 minutes into the game, and you know that's great, but even probably more so important is they still did so while remaining a full 4-person team. And come in-game, that can be absolutely imperative.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really important to just try and maintain good positioning, good angles. But I mean, we do see an influx of teams now really starting to make that push, right? Trying to get themselves into these angles. And of course, now Wildcard, right? They're going to be holding on to a beautiful northern angle. And I mean, this is going to allow them quite a bit of a positional play.
You're absolutely right, and we'll have to wait and see here, but currently just Ace of Spades just holding position with so much opportunity potentially going to be working their way across. However, no such luck yet. Looks like Blinky just doesn't. He is really torn between 2 teams here. He is just trying to figure out, do I focus on hashtag or do I focus on wildcard?
I mean, it's a tough decision, right? But it does seem like hashtag could maybe be a nice alternative at this point in time, right? It's not going to be exposing them too much, but also then looking over on towards wildcard, right? It still could present a great opportunity to try and lock in just a few of those additional knocks, you know, securing the extra bit of damage.
You're right, but on the flip side, if they do get the attention of both teams, that could put them in a peanut butter and trouble sandwich. And that they don't want to be fighting 2 teams simultaneously, in my personal opinion. So they're going to have to be a little bit more cautious about which fights they take on. Engaging 2 teams at once can be very risky.
Yeah, I mean, it could be risky, but who knows, right? So you got to risk it for the biscuit, right? That is the only way that you are going to get it. And of course, now with the zone starting to constrict, we are going to be looking to see where that next phase is going to be taking us, right? Is it going to maintain a very centralized position, or could it maybe swing into somewhere else, right? Maybe Georgia Ball, but instead it goes to Ruins. And this is where Sarah now hold an absolutely amazing angle.
Yeah, honestly, these zone shifts are just unpredictable. Every time I think I know where it's going, the caster curse takes effect and I am proven wrong. But guys, as this zone shrinks, our participants are going to be left with less and less room, less and less places to hide, and just closer to other teams, meaning we are due for some more confrontation as we move forward. It's going to get pretty heavy. As the remainder of the duration continues here, these opponents are going to have to fight.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at the zone, right, Red Eyes, where would you look to if you were playing in this particular match, right? Where would you position your team?
I would position myself on the high ground on top of the mountains, just to the west of Ruins. I would want that high ground, and I would want it for 2 reasons. Not just for the Overwatch advantage, but also because the zone pretty much ends after that mountainous range. So after you secure that area, you don't need to watch your backside too much. You can rest fairly assured that your backside is covered. So you not only have that Overwatch, but you only have to secure 3 angles of sight as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite a formidable angle to be holding, but I think once the snake zone really comes into itself, right, with the teams now starting to try at play at these positions, I think that is where the importance of that Everest angle could really be showcased, right? But I mean, interestingly enough, we are seeing 3 teams converging in towards that North Georgia Pool area. We can see, of course, those hit markers just on that left side of the screen. I'm not quite sure what's happening on that front, but it's a really interesting decision.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right, man. It looks like Dauntless and Wildcard and potentially Road to Death were all in that same proximity, but now we see Dauntless and Wildcard potentially going to engage. It looks like Wildcard's thinking a little bit better of it and going to prioritize a rotation, but as they try to escape in the vehicle, they are taking some shots aimed in, and it looks like I apologize. Pmcc was the one who ended up taking the brunt load of that damage there, being shot down to about 3/4 of his health, but he's going to be okay. And it looks like they're going to use this opportunity to dip out of dodge. And again, I stand corrected, my friend. I promise you, like I am not usually this incorrect. It seems like there's a caster curse. Everything I say, they're going to do. They can almost hear me and keep me on my toes. But we're going to have them waited out in the dead zone. Dauntless is dead set on that engagement with Wildcard, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, not quite sure why they are looking to expend so much time out in that blue zone, but we're also then having the players there from Manic drawing themselves even closer to third eye. So we could see, of course, that altercation towards the eastern side. Center zone for the time being surprisingly quite comfortable, right? Not too much of a difficult position, difficult angle really being held at this point in time. But I'm curious to see what is going to come through here from Wildcard and, of course, the players then from Dauntless, as we do have a slight bit of a disengage now from Dauntless's side.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, honestly, I now that you bring some light to it, you're right. The center of zone, it's got GNP, it's got Seren, and it even has members of Emulate potentially approaching the mix, but it is fairly calm right now. They're all just kind of being able to let these numbers dwindle down and relax and just hold position. And there's nothing wrong with that. By all means, if you've got the position of comfort, utilize it. But the zone has shifted. It's becoming much smaller now, and there's still plenty of teams alive. We got 12 teams, or pardon me, several teams up, 42 people alive here. Only time will tell, but we are due for some action in the coming moments, for sure.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I appreciate actually where the zone has now moved towards, right? Because that is kind of gonna kind of force these teams to really play out those strategies. Of course, a little bit of that flex now coming through as well. A little bit of that, you know, that buggy action as the teams make their way closer towards that zone. But again, right, still a bit of an angle being held there by Ace of Spades up towards Everest. That is a really good leverage point, I think, especially on their approach towards the zone. But they can't spend too much time there, right? They need to try and create a bit of an opening before moving forward.
You're absolutely right. And a big part of the name of the game does seem to be claiming early real estate. However, there is very to little compound cover to choose from there in that light. So you can look at it either way. Even it's more important to get that early real estate, or you could say, you know what? There's really not a whole lot of safe positioning. You're going to be out in the open for the most part. So maybe you do wait while you have that overwatch, and maybe you do try to capitalize before you engage and rotate into zone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all down to, you know, what kind of decisions these teams are going to be looking to make as they now have to play towards the zone. They've got a few seconds before the blue is going to start closing up again. But as we can see now, just up ahead here of the players from Bob, or based on Bullet, they are creeping close, could potentially find a bit of an angle on towards Seren. But, I mean, Seren, it seems like they have the advantage with regards to positioning.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a seam situation. I think they absolutely do have the advantage in that they are already in zone, and they have the opportunity to pull a gatekeep on based on Bullet here, and it looks like they are well aware of it. All the while, yep, and Seren does go for it. Dimple gets a knock on Shrian, and that is going to be a takedown right there. Looks like Road to Death having at it as we speak with Wildcard. Nades being thrown inbound. Not quite hitting the mark.
Yeah, but I mean, they definitely have the numbers advantage. At least it is going to be Jason now just holding up alongside Summer Hardcover while the rest of the team now moves into position. But it's an absolute barrage of utility getting sent this way. And that up comes the Molly. Could this be the one to find a bit of an opportunity? But Kiddo just ducking in behind that ridge line, waiting to see how this is going to play out.
And look at Bysong utilizing that punch glitch. You see it time and time again. He is trying to work his way, find a little rotation, and he just might right here. Oh, but woo, taken down in retaliation. Looks like Road to Death was ready.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful push coming through there from them. But of course, now as we jump just back into the same position, it's going to be Ace of Spades also now looking for a little bit of a piece of that cake, right? They want a few of these opportunities. But again, right, again, the northern edge, not as contested as we see down towards that eastern and southern side.
Yeah, Ace of Spades, Mom Bay had hellfire on the mind there as he tried to rain some nades in. Unfortunately for him, nades were thrown back in retaliation, doing more damage to him than he was able to dish out. But it is still going on here. Ace of Spades still a full 4-person team. It looks like Versus is going to use this opportunity to shroud himself in smoke, and it looks like the rest of the Ace boys are doing the same. And what are they going to do here? Are they going to use this opportunity to bow out, or are they going to constrict upon their opponents and emulate?
I mean, I think it would be a good decision here for Ace of Spades to try and push forward. It is going to be putting quite a bit of pressure then onto the players here from Emulate. But as we know, a few well-placed nades could really be creating that opening, as we do see Ash now getting knocked on down. Oh, that nade getting scary, scary close. But now it's going to be down to Speed to try and hold up that front line positioning as Mambe gets spotted, and down they go.
Well, I gotta say, man, the timing at which you said that was perfect. Speed needs to hold the position down. Speed gets the knock. Oh, Nemesis with very little health, brought down to about 1/5 of his overall health. Gonna have to use a first aid right here and now if he wants to actually be able to help his team out here. He does get that first aid off successfully, and he's got that UMP out and ready. Oh, his teammate being taken down. That is not looking good. Speed still alive and kicking, very much in need of a first aid, but Stranger and Bash able to hold it down for him while he does so. Mambe still knocked, leaving things riding on Versa and Nemesis.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of pressure now, but I'm loving the way that the players here from Emulate have been able to turn the tables onto Ace of Spades. But they got to be careful because all the action could be drawing in the attention of the surrounding teams. Fortunately for both these teams, there's still quite a bit of distance, right? So no immediate dangers, but of course going to be Ace of Spades moving forward. Oh, look at the damage.
Oh, you saw that. Bash just placed it perfectly. And poor Nemesis, oh, it wasn't Nemesis, pardon me. It was poor Mom Bay suffering the consequences of it. And Nemesis now taking a huge hit, somehow staying alive and utilizing that first aid just in time. Here we go, and it's going to be some UMP thirsts. You can pretty much expect that to happen at that point. And that's going to be Nemesis's first kill. And Versa with 2. He's got, oh, if that hits. Look at Ace of Spades just shining through, even as a 2-person team. And this is the interesting thing about it, is when you are brought down to half your original team, you generally see a bit of a shift in strategy. Usually teams will take it from that aggressive point and dial things back to a bit more of a reserve standpoint, but not Ace of Spades. Those boys are confident and they come in heavy.
Yeah, I think they had an ace up their sleeve as we just saw them moving in with all that confidence. But now, right, 5 teams. That is all that we have left. And that is all going to be now down to who's able to control the zone. We got a hashtag towards the northern side. We've got the players there from Bob, a.k.a. based on Bullet, towards the east. But down south, it is going to be the players here from Road to Death alongside the team coming through then from GNP as the shots now start to connect on through. And down goes Akash.
Ooh, well-placed bullets right there. Akash was almost at the home stretch of making it back to his team, but not quite. And look, GMP operating as a 2-piece of Hazara and Shaka, holding position, 4 kills to their name, and oh, the caster's curse yet again. Hazara taken down, leaving Shaka there on his own to carry on the GMP name.
Well, the only Shaka I know is Shaka Zulu, and that, of course, is quite the formidable warrior. So I'm going to be curious to see whether or not Shaka is going to be living up to that name. But you got to say, this is a very, very tough zone to defend.
Give credit to where credit is due. Shaka, even as a solo, staying on the aggressive with Road to Death in his sights. He's got more nades where that first one came from. Let's see if he can land it.
Ooh. Come on.
Oh my
goodness.
Money. Woo! Wow. Multiple birds, one stone. beautifully placed by Shaka. And you know what? This is really where the self-control comes in, because he didn't stand up to try to secure those thirsts. Unfortunately for him, Shaka was taken out almost immediately after that camera switched away from him. But that is not to displace credibility. That was an amazing nade.
Yeah, Shaka really doing some magic right then and there. But it is, of course, down to our final two teams, right? It is going to be Hashtag, who are left with only Ahmed. As we can see, Nemesis and Versa are trying to clear out the zone, but already they've been able to secure themselves those double-digit eliminations.
Yeah, those boys are putting in work. And I gotta say, you know, even though Hashtag has 0 kills, even though they only have one person up, it's a 1v2. And 1v2s, while they are a handicap match, they are very doable. It's very possible for him to come through. And he gets the knock on Bursa, leaving it down to a fair fight. Nemesis, however, real quick with the retaliation. Revenge is served cold and fast. And unfortunately for Hashtag, they gave up their location right there and then. Ace of Spades, beautiful performance, 11 kills, almost 1,800 damage, and a first place dub.
Yeah, well, they definitely met their menaces. Their nemesis, right? Menaces, I don't even know what that is. But yes, they met their nemesis out on the battlefield there. But a really, really, you know, very impressive performance coming through from Ace of Spades. Of course, I mean, we can almost say that was kind of to be expected, right? Based on what we've seen from them before. But what a way to look so confident out on that very first match.
Yeah, confidence was all too apparent with them. Even when they were brought down to a 2-person team, you were seeing them playing on the all-out aggressive, which, yeah, I mean, it's risky. It's risky, I'll admit that, but they were pulling it off very well as they acquired 11 kills just between 3 players. And it's important to note the difference in strategy between them and the second place holders, Hashtag. Hashtag, admittedly, and this is not to discredit them, but 0 kills to their name, still acquiring a second place. What they were doing is a bit more of a reserved approach. They're trying to hold out and wait for that in-game to really utilize that aggression. Unfortunately, once they got to that in-game, it was down to 1 player, and they didn't have a lot of options. But you can definitely see 2 entirely different strategies, and they both seem to work fairly well, as we got Ace getting the dub and Hashtag getting second.
Yeah, I think the only difficulty is going to be finding which one of those 2 approaches are going to be the more sustainable one to play at, right? As we know, of course, still 2 more matches to go, so there's still quite a bit to be seen. But as we know, the players then from the road to death also bringing in quite a substantial amount of eliminations, right? They walked out of this game with 9 to their name. So again, right, big ups to all these teams showing up some nice bit of aggression.
Yeah, honestly, you know, when you have tournaments like this, a lot of the time, and I know you can attest to this, we are left with a fairly passive first match as players are just trying to get their toes in the water, try to get a feel for the gameplay here. But that is not what we had in this round 1. We were met with confrontation off the bat. We had Seren facing off with the hit list right off the bat, and then off in North George, out of zone contestation. I mean, we were left with pretty much action throughout the entire time. But guys, no time to waste. Let's have a look at our MVPs for round 1. Well, it shouldn't come to any surprise to our viewers, but the player of the match is going to be from Ace of Spades. It's going to be Nemesis. 7 kills to his name with 800 damage. And on top of that, 2 assists in other kills. Really impressive performance for one player.
Yeah, that's a healthy amount of damage being dealt there. I mean, the conversion also looking really good, right? 7 eliminations, 800 damage. So it means there's not a lot of wastage that came in from this last game. So I'm curious to see what Nemesis is going to be bringing in as we make our approach towards Miramar, towards Sanhok, because as you've said before, the strategy really changes up as we move into these other 2 games.
You're 100% right. Just look at Nemesis' face in this this shot here. He has got the aggression already. But you know, you're absolutely right, DK. What worked so well on Erangel might not be the strategy for a map like Miramar. But guys, the MVT, the most valuable team of round 1, again, the Ace of Spades boys, as they pull it out, 11 kills, first place, 1,800 damage, phenomenal performance.
Yeah, definitely a really, really satisfying play coming through from them. But of course, right now they've set the bar for on our very first game, and now they need to keep that up going forward. Of course, speaking about keeping it up, we are going to be taking a look at our top 4 teams after match number 1.
Yeah, and as you can see, Ace of Spades, that clear lead. Road to Death, nothing to wag your finger at. Nine kills, 962 damage. It's pretty impressive. And what that 962 damage versus 9 kills tells me is that they are able to utilize their kills. They make their shots count, and those knocks that they get, they secure almost every single thirst, and that is nothing to wag your finger at. GNP with 1,200 damage, 6 kills. Looks like they were, bit of a shift from the Road to Death crew. It looks like GMP had a little bit more of a difficulty actually acquiring those kills, but they had no trouble dealing out the damage.
Yeah, and that's what we love to see, right? Teams really being quite heavy on the trigger, right? Because as we know, not only do the placement points count quite a bit, but it's good to see the teams really putting a bit of focus in towards the aggression, and that also then leads us into our head-to-head between Road to Death and, of course, Ace of Spades. And as we can see here, the numbers with regards to eliminations looking very similar, but there's just been so much more damage than coming through from Ace of Spades.
And look at the survival difference. Road to Death, 1 second longer than Ace of Spades. I wonder if Road to Death is friends with Ace of Spades, and if they just joke with them about it, like, hey man, you didn't survive quite as long as we did. We might not have had the damage you did, but we lasted a second longer. But yeah, let's do give credit to Ace of Spades, almost doubling the Road to Death boys in damage, but only 2 kills leads. So at the same time, Road to Death does get the bronze, and they did put up an amazing performance as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you said before, right? Credit where credit is due, and I mean, 9 eliminations still looking quite healthy alongside the team. That, of course, is going to result in some really strong points coming through, and I'm pretty sure that they will have a very satisfying angle as soon as we take a bit of a look at those standings a little bit later on. But loving what the teams are doing.
Yeah, and guys, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen as we move to the next round. Oh, goodness, the elimination damage. Let's have a look-see at the charts. Look at that. Ace of Spades, their eliminations and damages right lining up there. And as you can see, this is kind of the point that I was talking about with Road to Death. 9 kills, able to utilize almost every single thirst opportunity afforded to them. Really impressive there. I'm not quite acquainted with the logo in 3rd place. I'm not sure if you are either, but 6 kills to 1,200 damage, not bad either.
Yeah, I think that is GNP, if I'm not mistaken. And we can see over there with the 6 and the 12. I mean, so again, showing quite a bit of aggression with the amount of damage that they were able to deal. But also it was quite a bit challenging, right? Sometimes that knock just gets away from you. Maybe it goes to another team. Maybe it's one of your teammates that locks it in. So I want to see a little bit more of that consistency being brought through now, right? The teams being able to get those knocks, but they have to then try and convert those into eliminations as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, brother. You're absolutely right. Only time will tell as we move forward. And what worked so well in Erangel might not be the key for Miramar. I cannot wait to see what Ace of Spades is going to do. Are they going to come in with that confidence just rolling? Are they going to be able to keep that momentum going? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and of course, Ace of Spades starting it off with 26 points secured to their name. Road to Death sitting on 19. A very interesting angle to see our top 4 teams hitting those double-digit figures. But now it's going to be that opportunity moving in our 2 remaining games now for Dauntless and other players there from Based on Bullet to try and just add a bit of an increase to the overall point situation.
You're absolutely right, brother. Absolutely right. Guys, we still have 2 more matches ahead of us. 2 more matches of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way. We've got that Miramar coming, and then we're going to be taking things to that lush condensed forest. I am, of course, talking about Sandhawk as we know it. Guys, we still have, as we said, 2 more matches to go. This is the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals. We hope that you stick around, and we'll see you back in just a few short moments. back, welcome back to round 2 of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals. And DK, we had an intense round 1 in Erangel. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to be looking at whether or not Ace of Spades will be able to maintain that consistency, right? Keep that aggression up. I mean, they've been showing their potential throughout the previous season, so they've already created somewhat of an expectation and also setting the bar quite high in that very first game.
And I'm also going to be keeping an eye on Road to Death. You know, those guys were keeping a pretty comfortable kill amount and able to get very good placement as well. So they're still very much in the running here. And I'm curious to see, as you said, if Ace of Spades is going to be able to handle that shift in strategy, that shift in geography, and keep that momentum going. Guys, we're going to kick off round 2. It's a Miramar match. What do we need to say about Miramar? So I go through this spiel pretty much every event that I cast, and I get a little bit of debate on this, but here's what I'm going to say. Miramar is essentially the largest map that we have in PUBG. Now, technically, Erangel is the same size, being an 8x8, but that includes Erangel's bodies of water. So realistically, this is the largest map that we have in the game, meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other is just gonna be a bit slimmer. However, it's also the most open map that we have in the game, meaning that the odds of you being sniped from 300 meters away is just exponentially higher. So you need to be alert of not just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well. And the third and final thing I want to say is that this map is so large that it finds itself almost entirely reliant upon that flight path to determine what sort of early game we get, and here we see it. It's not a bad flight path at all. It's not perfectly centralized, but it is going to leave the participants with plenty of drop options. And right away, we're seeing that we get some early jumpers. We got the wild card boys. They're going to be jumping southwest alongside the crew in Dauntless and Emulate. It looks like Dauntless and Emulate might be competing for the Pozo area. We got Seren. Let's see, it looks like they're dropping southbound, trying to make it towards the Picado area is what I'm going to assume. We can see the Dauntless is already hit the ground. Tigress trying to get some early loot and capitalize before their opponents in Emulate do.
Yeah, but I think, you know, you know, Viper just, you know, just hanging in there, trying to see where they can get themselves situated. Yeah, I mean, no stress, no worry in the world. You know, it's only the desert, as you said. It's only a very open map, and all of that action can come through. You know, but I'm loving the confidence being shown here. But I mean, this is Pozo, so it is going to be allowing a little bit of grace, right? They're not going to be right up in front of everyone's face just yet. However, we do see a little bit of that you know, congestion and contention coming through as the teams there from Based on Bullets are going to be finding a few sprays now onto Road to Death. So already, right, Road to Death sitting with that one elimination to their name.
Not a bad start for them. Already getting that early kill and not losing anyone in the process puts them in a very good position, especially for the rest of that confrontation, as now they have that number advantage over their opponent.
Yeah, you want to try and find as many advantages as you could possibly have. But now, I mean, it's interesting to look at the kind of distribution of teams spread out through the zone. We got quite a few vacancies available, right? Almost the entire northern section open for a good bit of occupation to come on through. But the same can almost be said about that southern edge, right? Power Grid, Monte Nuevo, that whole territory is open and available for teams to get their rotations locked in.
I'm really glad that you said that. It brings a little attention to the fact, yeah, the entire top half of zone is pretty much open vacancy, open real estate for our participants. We're getting quite a cluster on the south half, and I hope it stays that way, because that means we're going to be getting some earlier confrontation than normal. And looks like currently our closest points of contention are going to be between Dauntless and Emulate here. As we're catching eyes, we can see Speed holding position with that Scar L, just waiting to catch a line of sight on any opponent that tries to show themselves here. A little bit of space between these two teams, and as I was saying in that confrontation last match in Pachinki, it still applies here, where you have two teams not too far away, but with so much compound cover, it can really complicate the situation quite a bit, because you are able to potentially get that knock knock, but the ability to acquire the thirst from that point is a lot more difficult. So you have to weigh your options. What are you really doing? You're depleting your ammo, they're depleting their ammo. You're depleting their armor, they're depleting your armor. Is this a contestation that is worth taking on this early in game? Well, that all changes on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I definitely think in the early game, in the early stages, you definitely want to try and avoid as many of these altercations as you possibly can, right? Instead, look at positioning, trying to get yourself into a more formidable angle. But I'm loving the approach coming through here from Khan, for instance, from the side of Elevate, right? Starting to explore the options, moving a little bit closer towards Crater Fields to get the kind of anchor point set up, right? That kind of rotational point secured. So should the zone throw a bit of a spanner in the works, they have an alternative angle to play for.
Yeah, that's very true. I am looking at hashtag here. Looks like they are trying to, well, at least one member is, Papu, potentially trying to find a position to gatekeep the boys in Dark Esports, but Papu unfortunately finds himself in a 1-3 split away from his teammates. So that's a very risky move here. And however, let's flip the coin. Dark Esports is extremely spread out from one another here. They are doing the every man for themselves tactic here almost. And that comes with certain advantages, but some serious, obvious disadvantages as well. Yeah, you're not all going to be taken out in the same spray, but if one of you is attacked, the ability for your teammates to come and help you out, it's a lot more difficult at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite pleased to see that hashtag are going to be looking to condense that 3-1 split. I mean, ideally want to see this 3-1 split maybe go the other way, right? Have 3 players on the front line and have that one lone ranger just holding off in the distance. But it's great to see that them really now starting to just regroup that whole positioning. I mean, Graveyard is going to be allowing them quite a few angles, right? Quite a few opportunities, especially with a team like the team there from Dark Esports now moving in essentially from that eastern side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but it looks to me like Dark Esports is going to be pulling a bit of a northern rotation here, trying to work their way up past the boys in hashtag and potentially even past the crew in GMP. I might just be choking on my words here as they come to a halt here. It looks like they've found a positioning. They're going to be taking this little cluster of unnamed compounds here. 2 other members, I guess, pardon me, 1 other member of Dark, Amrit, still hanging back outside his zone, trying to work his way in. Oh, no, I was correct. It's 2 members, and yeah, just as I say it, Caster Curse in full effect. Ace of Spades getting a takedown on Dark Esports, bringing them down to a 3-piece. That's already a kill on the board for the Ace of Spades crew.
Yeah, well, you're sprinkling that juju across the field, as we can see even now. It is going to be up to Ace of Spades to find the next point of contention, right? They are going to be looking to also adopt a little bit more of that northern approach. We can see Blinky here now just showing us the beautiful terrain and, you know, maybe what not to do with the vehicle. So, you know, when you're in the desert, maybe don't do this in your convertible.
Yes, this is the book of what not to do in the owner's manual of a car. However, Blinky is just got his Paul Walker pedal to the metal, going full on Fast and the Furious here out in the desert, catching some serious airtime, but doing so, being able to get a little bit closer to his teammates here. Look at Versa. This is a good point to mention here is just the difference in what vehicles will do on this kind of terrain. That buggy really is not the most opportune in most maps. I understand that. The buggy does leave a lot of vulnerability for whoever is riding on the back of it. But on a map like Miramar, those dunes are so much more easily maneuverable in a buggy. And I think it is probably the best vehicle of choice for moving around quickly.
Yeah, I mean, even IRL, right? It kind of works if you go off with a dune buggy. I mean, they're not really made for much else other than that. So it's good to see that utilization come through. But of course, now the players there from Dark Esports are going to be trying to hold on to this potential gatekeep angle that they've got. They've spotted out Ace of Spades, and now it's going to be the opportunity for Dark Esports rather to try and push that aggression through. Right? They've got that knock. But at the same time, they've got the zone right behind them. So great opportunity lying in wait for them.
You're so right. But even as you said it, Neo of Dark Esports seems to have reevaluated his position, and it looks like he's going to relocate. I definitely disagree with that move because he had such an amazing angle of overwatch over the Ace of Spades boys. I think he could have held on to that a little bit longer, but you know what? Hindsight being 2020, it's a lot easier for us, the caster, to make that call, and we know where everyone else is.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty tough play nonetheless, but loving what GNP is doing right here. Putting a bit of a stop here to the advances from road to death. And that is exactly on the road that they are, right? The road to that lobby, but still a bit of vacancy surrounding them. So there's a great opportunity for them now to try and fortify their current positioning. But still, road to death could pose somewhat of a challenge.
Well, they could, but keep in mind, as we have noted, Road to Death has been reduced down to that two-person team, and they are staring up against a full four-person squad. So, I mean, honestly, they are, any way you look at it, at a number disadvantage. They are outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned, and so that is a very risky position for them.
Yeah, speaking about risky though, right? As we look a little bit towards that eastern side, it's going to be Third Eye, and of course the players then from Ace of Spades pulling up pretty close to each other. We have a similar situation over towards this western side now with Dauntless and the players there from Wildcard trying to find a good approach to get themselves resituated in towards the zone. Because Casino now pulling up in towards Monte Nuevo, down towards that southern side. We have the players then from the Headless creeping ever closer to Saren.
And look at this, Wildcard was left with kind of a tough decision here, as they had been reduced down to a two-person team, half their original team, and they decided to do a separate rotation. And that obviously, the risks of it are obvious. You know, you can't defend yourself very well when you have no one to shoot out of your vehicle. But the upside is, if one of you is targeted, the other still has a fair shot of keeping the team name alive. It's a risky approach, but it worked out in this case for Wildcard. However, that full four-person team of Dauntless is working their way in to Monte Nuevo as we speak. It could be very problematic for the boys in Wildcard.
Yeah, Tigers could be prepping a bit of a bounce on that front, but it does seem like they're looking to play onto the high ground instead. Now, looking at the Butcher, we've got a bit of a position to play at, right? We've got the hit list spread out beautifully in front of them. I'm loving that angle coming through from Cole, really being in such a position where they can draw the attention, allowing the rest of the team now to get themselves much, much closer.
Yeah, if Call did decide to bring any attention to himself from that point, it would have left a very big opportunity for the other hit list members to really catch an eye of sight on whoever from Seren was shooting. And that would have been a very interesting confrontation to see as three members of the hit list just rain fire upon a targeted Saren member. Unfortunately, that is not what played out here. And it looks like the hit list is going to be pulling a bit of a slower strategy here, doing the slow game here as they work their way in, kind of reuniting themselves in closer proximity to one another. And it looks like they're going to be holding off in a game of patience with Seren.
Yeah, patience is going to be the key at this point, as we are going to be looking to see where that next zone is going to be taking us towards. Of course, team here from GNP, currently smack dab center zone. A few opportunities up for grabs, but now with that zone taking another shift towards the southern edge, this is where that whole positioning from GNP just gets so much stronger, because they have a bit of control over who is allowed into the zone, at least from that northern approach.
Yeah, it definitely is going to put Based on Bullet in an awkward position, just because Based on Bullet, let's give note that they started off as only a three-person team. They put themselves into this match at a disadvantage, and then they lost man dip very early on. So they're just a two-person squad at this point, and they need to get to that end game. Guys, as we've said time and time again, there's only 3 matches to decide if you are advancing here. Every match counts so much. So as a two-person team, you are going to need that survival time. You're going to need those placement points, but that is not going to be enough in a situation like this. And let me reiterate that for a team like Hashtag, who, even though they did acquire second place in round 1, they did so with 0 kill points to add on to that. And while survival is great, while placement is great, and it's extremely important, is it enough to advance forward? I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think it's quite enough, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, placement points in and of itself, it could not be sufficient to secure team, that slot moving on forward. Definitely need to try and add on that extra little bit of aggression, right? Just to top up those points. But speaking about topping it up, right? Seren are also going to be looking to top up their own aggression on towards the players here from Elevate. And of course, then the team from Dauntless now moving in from that western approach. Again, Seren need to be careful because they could find them in, as you say, a little bit of that sandwich in trouble. Peanut butter and trouble sandwich, rather.
I'm so glad that you said that because that was literally what I was about to say. Oh, Papu from Hashtag is down in the distance. All the while, Seren engaging in on Dauntless. We see Butcher, that 3x M4, just raining away, but not getting any connecting damage. Not a single line of sight there is connecting. He has his eyes on Viper, but that little bit of hill glitch is all it takes to protect Viper there. Dauntless Claws pulling a slight rotation, and it looks like Dauntless is going to spread out a little bit here. We see Viper scoping in. The height advantage is definitely going to go to Seren here, but Dimple is hurt. Going to need to bow out and heal up at first.
Yep, if you're going to have to do that, but still, right? Seren holding onto a strong positioning. But I got to say, Dauntless looking like they have quite a bit of control on these ridge lines. We can see they're now looking to adopt that 1-1-2 split, right? Sending to their players around. You can see it's going to be Dogway and Go now moving in alongside the rest of the players now from the side of Seren. I'm loving this kind of sneaky flank that they're trying to play at. I mean, Dauntless, they just taunting the players here from Seren.
I like that, the taunting Dauntless. But as you can see, while they are taunting them, no doubt about that, Seren is a team that as we saw in round 1, is very patient. They can be fairly close in proximity to their opponent, but they are not going to become all too eager to put themselves in a vulnerable position. They are going to play the patience game and try to wait out Dauntless, try to wait for Dauntless to move themselves in, because guess what? Dauntless is, in fact, outside of zone. Well, Seren is as well, but Dauntless is further out, so Seren does have that gatekeep opportunity, so they're going to wait it out. They know Dauntless has no option. They have to move in at some point.
Yeah, they got a bit of that safety buffer to play at. But now, speaking about safety buffers, right, we are going to be jumping straight over on towards this northeastern side where we have the hit list now trying to find a bit of an opportunity as Ace of Spades are moving much closer, but also then the players there from Emulate. So quite a few opportunities lying ahead, rather that's the players then from Hashtag just inching their way towards that side of zone. But a lot of pressure now going to be applied to these teams.
Yeah, and all the while, Wildcard and Dauntless having at it with one another. Oh my goodness, Dauntless reduced down to a 3-person team of Dogway, Claws, and Tigris. Wildcard is a 2-person. Oh! And as soon as I say Tigris's name, he or she is shot right out of the vehicle. Kusina ready to build onto that momentum. She's got a nade cooking up. Oh goodness, if Dogway had kept moving in that position, it would have almost been a certain nade knock there. Kusina holding position, that UMP 45, that close quarter combat monster, just awaiting Dogway's approach.
Yeah, this could be quite a bit of a change coming through now here for Wildcard. Let's see what is going to happen. Dogway holding a steady angle. Klaus now moving in for that fortification. The rush comes through. It's going to be Casino now just trying to dodge it out. But again, quite a bit of mobility coming through, right? The teams continue to stay active, and that is going to be Casino taken on down to their final hopeful, as it's now down to Bysong trying to find a little bit of a repentance here.
Yeah, let's give credit to Dogway there, coming in, that UMP spraying, but never staying still, not getting his opponent even a single chance at a still shot there. And honestly, he took minimal damage, about as minimal as possible. I think he only took maybe 20% damage to his health and was able to secure the knock. So he was very healthy and ready for that next confrontation.
Yeah, and of course now we do see the players there from Road to Death running into a bit of a brick wall. They still have another player all the way back into San Martin, so we could potentially see a bit of that Sanok heal strat being adopted up in towards the lovely Miramar. But as we look on towards the northern side of zone, it's still going to be Seren trying to find a little bit of ground to play from. We've got Elevate up ahead of them. GNP also now trying to find a little bit of an approach to play at, but it is going to be based on bullets, as well as the team then from Road to Death getting eliminated out in the blue zone.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, as you said, that road to death, they were riding their very name, riding their own road to demise in that one. And that is going to be very problematic for a team like Road to Death, who did finish third place in round one. All that effort that they put forward in round one might have been sort of canceled out, unfortunately, for them, as they were not able to acquire the placement that they needed here in round two. However, let's keep in mind, we still have a whole nother match to go, and anything is possible here.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about anything being possible, right? You want to see where the Ace of Spades are going to be looking to get themselves situated. Coming in with a strong position towards that southern side, quite a bit of an angle to be held up towards that hillside, of course, where we see the players then from hashtag being positioned, but also the leverage towards the southern edge, right? This is where Third Eye are going to be having their hands a little bit full, as they don't have a very decisive rotational path in towards the road. Of course, there's quite a few options, but we can see that congestion also now starting to continue towards the north.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to put a little bit more attention here on Ace of Spades. Nemesis was our shining warrior in round one with those 7 kills, but now Ace of Spades still looking extremely strong. It looks like Mombay is the Miramar specialist, holding 3 of the team's 5 kills. I love that. Every player on the team has their specialties, and it looks like Mombay is shining here on Miramar. All the while, we got Emulate here with a nice high ground position on not just the hit list, but GNP as well. However, we see Lucifer taking such a huge hit. Lucky, very lucky to be alive there. And then the caster's curse, as I say, he's lucky to be alive. It's not. And, ooh, Papu getting a first aid off just in the nick of time, but that zone is bringing in some damage, guys. And I say this time and time again, I don't care how good of a player you are. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not even Pittsburgh Knights Coops, has a higher KD than that blue zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be such a difficult angle, especially looking at the team situated up on the high ground, right? Could be all downhill from here, but it's going to be GMP losing player after player, now all turning on to Fuddy to see whether or not they can keep the name alight. But looking at these positionings, I mean, it's going to be so challenging.
Let that what just happened be a notable lesson for everyone here. GMP went from being a full team here down to 1 member in, I think, a matter of about 15-20 seconds there. That's all that it takes to change the tides of war in a map like Miramar here. And look at this. Seren having a bit of a tough go as well. They are out of there. Look at this. We are down to just our final 6 teams spread out amongst 15 people here. And look at that. Of those 15 people, the hit list as a full 4-person squad. They are looking very strong. They are our only... Oh, them and Ace of Spades are only 2 full 4-person teams here. Look at this. Nemesis, 567 damage. Looking pretty strong there, and Caster cursed him right as I said it. Nemesis gets knocked.
Yeah, I think you might be their nemesis at this point, right?
I think I'm everyone's worst enemy in this event. I think whoever I give credit to ends up being taken out immediately after. And
yeah, they should just ask you to not say their names at all, as you do have in here.
If I was rooting for anyone in this game, if I had any like favorites, I would just not talk about them. I would avoid ever bringing them up. But guys, we're down to our final 3 teams: Ace of Spades, the hit list, and of course Third Eye. It's a 3v3v2 to decide the victor of round 2.
Yeah, I mean, Ace of Spades definitely in contention to lock in that winner chicken dinner once again, but it's going to be hit list having the players there from Third Eye on their hit list, and now is the opportunity to turn their attention over onto Ace of Spades, and this is where that elevation really plays into the favor of the hit list team.
Yeah, and not only that, but the number advantage. Ace of Spades did lose Nemesis and Blinky in the process. They still have Mombay, their high scorer of the match, and Versa, but they are in a 2v3 handicap match against the hit list, who all 3 of those members up have put up serious kills. They got 8 kills just between those 3 players. And not only that, but the hit list seems to have a bit of an elevation advantage as well. Mombay needs to find a way to work their way in, and as you can see, they're already utilizing those smokes, which brings it an amazing... Oh my goodness, Joker gets wrecked, and oh, the odds are evened as we got a 2v2 on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. A fair fight in round 2.
Yeah, I'm loving this push coming through here from Versa. Really phenomenal angles being played out here, applying quite a bit of pressure onto the Hitless. And now Trickster just trying to play out the spot here, right? They spotted Versa, trying to apply all the pressure they can, and it pays off as they secure that winner chicken dinner.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that was a lucky shot through the smoke. I could be wrong because we definitely saw his opponent, but I think that guy was pretty much swimming in smoke at that point. So that might have been a lucky shot for the finish there.
Yeah, but I do think that was quite an impressive hit. I mean, we see that quite often, right? Once the smoke goes up, the teams just go fishing. You know, it's like, let's find those hit markers and try and secure the hits.
Right, and where Ace of Spades was able to just really shine through in round 1, it looks like another one of these tier 1 teams, the Hitless, is really the victor here in round 2. They shine through not just in terms of kills and placement and confidence. They had 3 people on their team putting up points. Look at that. Flash is responsible for 5 kills alone. It seems that what we were talking about, just a different map, different geography, different strategy, different teams are going to shine through on different maps. And it looks like Miramar just so happens to be the hitless specialty.
Yeah, but I gotta say though, Ace of Spades, right? Keeping that consistency really, really strong. So, right, securing themselves that second place, securing those 6 eliminations. That is what you want to see, right? So, even though they had an amazing first match, they were able to replicate a very similar kind of approach coming into the second one. So, that makes me kind of hopeful for the continuation into our last map, right? Over in towards Sanhok. Because, as you said, right, Erangel, of course, being that love child between Miramar and Sanhok. So, it'll be a great show then to see what they're going to be bringing in.
What I love about the Erangel to Miramar to Sanhok kind of shift is that we start off with just the perfect middle ground, and then we go to 2 completely radical extremes, complete opposites. So, yeah, we were just left with wide open spaces here in round 2. That's not going to be the case in round 3. We're going to be dealing with a much smaller map. But guys, time to look at the player of the match. We got Flash from the hit list. No surprise to us, putting up 5 kills, 400 damage. So that damage is actually a little bit surprising to me. It's a little bit less than what I was expecting, but that just means this guy was able to come and capitalize on someone else's work. You know, someone else put in the damage, and Flash said, you know what? I'm going to yoink that kill, and he did. Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, being really quick on the trigger there, being able to secure those eliminations. And of course, no surprise to see Hitless sitting right there as our MVT, right? Our most valuable team. What a good play this was coming through in match number 2.
Yeah, it was just honestly, the action that we have been granted here today is just impeccable. I was expecting a much more passive start to today, and we are left with confrontation right off the bat. We see Ace of Spades shining. We see Hitless shining, but you know what? You do bring up a great point. The Hitless is consistent here. And case in point, look at that damage yet again. Leading in damage, 1,236 damage, and leading in kills here, 10 kills on that board there. We see 1,664 damage from Seren, 1,910 damage from Ace of Spades, and 900 from Dauntless.
Yeah, I mean, Ace of Spades, right? Just again, just coming through with that aggression. But you got to give the convergence rate over to the Hitless. Also, Dauntless doing a really good job, right? 900 damage, locking in those 5 eliminations. So the figures are looking good. But I think it's all going to come down to what these teams are able to put up in our very last match of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we are going to have our eyes on Ace of Spades at the moment, and that is not out of some sort of preferentiation or, you know, out of anything like that. It's just that Ace of Spades was able, the fact is, they got first in round 1 and second in round 2. They have given themselves the most stability out of anyone on the board at the moment. And look here, we have the hit list in our head-to-head with Seren, and it's just kind of interesting to note here that the hit list leads Seren in kills 10-8. But look at that damage. Seren putting up 1,664. And while that looks to be, you know, a compliment to Seren, it actually might be the opposite. It means that they are able to put out that damage, but are they able to really capitalize on the effort and get those kills from it? It looks like they had a little bit more trouble than that. They have twice as much damage as they do for accounted kills. So that means they are having a bit of trouble getting that. Now, you switch the script and look at the hit list. They made almost every bit of damage count with a kill afterwards.
Yeah, but we also did see quite a few knocks coming through as well, right, over towards the players there from Seren. So who knows? I mean, they are showing quite a bit of aggression. It's just sometimes those, you know, those pesky players, they just happen to get away from your angle, right? They just don't stay in the reticle, and that makes it sometimes a little bit more challenging. But, you know, some good stats across the board nonetheless. We do also then have the players there from I believe that is down at the lower end there. I believe that's the hit list that we can see with the 319 damage coming in for them. So still, regardless of you know, where to win, still trying to line up these hits.
Just for a point of correction, the hit list is actually the one on the very, very far left. I completely see why you thought that based on their logo. I completely, I would have made that exact same mistake. It might, I think it might be hashtag you were referencing. But the point still stays the same. There is quite a spread in damage there. But guys, it's time to look at the overall ranking and what we were just speaking about. Ace of Spades has secured quite a point of stability here, leading the board with 17 kills, and they've got the chicken dinner and they've got a second place under their belt. The hit list has put themselves in second place overall with 25 total points. Trailing behind them, 4 points behind, is Road to Death in third with 21. Coming in fourth, we got GMP with 18, tied with hashtag in terms of points, who also has 18 in fifth. But guys, as you can see, kind of between the Road to Death all the way down to Seren, it's only a 5-point difference.
Yeah, and of course, also the difference between first and second sitting on 19 points, right? So Ace of Spades really looking so comfortable. But as we know, only a select few teams are going to be provided the opportunity to move forward into those finals, right? So this last Sanhok, I'm expecting quite a bit of aggression to come through for, you know, for the teams now trying to secure it. I mean, Dauntless, Third Eye, as well as Seren, so close to really upsetting, you know, that second to fifth position.
Yeah. And if you are Ace of Spades, what is going to be the move as you approach round 3? Obviously, confidence and momentum are at a peak, but that can also be a team's undoing. You have to make sure you're confident, but don't let confidence border on cockiness, because that could really leave them at a point of vulnerability. They have such a secure lead, but if they were to drop at boot camp at the very beginning of a match and be eliminated, that could leave a little bit of a risky situation, as all these other teams have an opportunity to close that gap. However, having said that, Ace of Spades has such a lead, such a pretty drastic lead. It would be quite an upset to see them not make the top 8 at this point.
Yeah, I think the pressure is especially going to be on for the hit list, right? 19 points, it's not unachievable going, especially looking at a map like Sanhok. So the expectation is there, right? The opportunity is there for the hit list now to sneak themselves into that top slot for the day. So all it's going to come down to is how the teams are going to be looking to play out that Sanhok.
Well, and I'm so glad you brought up that point, my man, because the way you play Sanhok is not the same as a Miramar or Erangel. No, this is a lush condensed forest where there is so much cover to take. This is the snake map, as we all know. There's just natural cover to take. There's rocks, grass, there's trees, so many places to hide, even when you don't have that building cover. So yeah, we are going to see a difference in strategy. And as you mentioned, the ever notable notorious heal strat. And for those of you guys who may not be as acquainted with PUBG Mobile, at least in the esports realm, Sanhok is known for this thing called the heal strat, where players can, usually one player of a team will hang out in the dead zone with an absurd number of first aids and meds and boosts, and just repetitively heal off over and over. We'll see if that happens. I'm almost guaranteeing it. But guys, we got one more match to go. We're still got this one more match to decide everything, who's going to advance. This is the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals, and we're going to be back at you in a few short minutes with round 3. Stick around. Be back soon. And gentlemen, welcome back to our third and our final round of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals for Group A. And what a day it's been. Oh my gosh, DK, we have had some intense action. We've seen a ton of action in Erangel. Ace of Spades really shining through. We saw the hit list coming through and dominating round 2, but now we are taking things to a whole different ball game, a whole different map. I'm of course talking about that lush condensed forest of Sandhawk. And what do we need to say about Sandhawk? Well, it's the smallest map that we've got here. Now, technically Livik and Karakin and now the new map, Noosa, all smaller than Sandhawk, but we don't really mess with those in this event at least. And so this is the smallest map we've got, meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other is just automatically going to be a bit higher, but it's also the most condensed map that we've got in the game. Now, what do I mean when I say condensed? I mean it's the most lush in vegetation, as I was talking before this break, more grass to hide inside, more trees and boulders to hide behind, so you gotta be alert for a higher than average number of snakes than usual. And the third and final thing I want to say about Sandhawk is that this map is so small that the flight path really is not that consequential. You can get pretty much anywhere you want on this map, regardless of the flight path, just by deploying your chute early enough. So here we see it, not the most central flight path, really not that consequential here. And we are getting some early jumpers. We got built on bullet. Is that? Yeah, based on bullet, pardon me, getting an early drop alongside the Emulate boys jumping westbound. It looks like Emulate going to be right in that coastal area. We can see members of Seren dropping southbound, potentially towards the boot camp, but I think they're going to work their way by. It looks like the boot camp area might even be contested between the hit list and GNP Esports. I've got my fingers crossed on that. We can see even further down south, the crew in Manic jumping alongside Dark, and it looks like those two are going to be contesting. However, if they are contesting at Painan, it could be a particular specific Painan fight, which, I mean, there's a river that splits Painan, and there's so much compound cover in between. So Painan tends to be, very often, more than not, a battle of waiting games, and you'll see what I mean as we get there. It could be a good while before they fight, but look at this. It's not a while before the hit list comes in and just annihilates GNP, actually bringing them down to just one person. All that remains at this point is Shaka.
Yeah, Shaka now needs to rock a shotgun as well, and then it's going to be a Shaka boom coming through. But yes, as we jump over to our slightly more center zone up in towards Painan, it is going to be Dark Esports and Manig now getting into a bit of an altercation already. Dark Esports being reduced by one player, but this is the opportunity now for Neo to try and bring a little bit of that revenge play to fruition as they have an absolutely beautiful lineup on Vortex, and that is going to be the spray to lock in yet another knock.
Yeah, Neo, literally, it was just fish in a barrel at that point. But also, you know, let's take note. That Painan battle of patience that I was talking about, that's out the window. That didn't happen. We already have Dark and Manic facing off with one another. It does seem to be a trend in Painan fights, but not this time. And Manic already being reduced down to half their starting team. That is gonna absolutely need to change up their strategy. They are stuck here in a handicap situation now against Dark Esports. And when you are outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, only 2.5 minutes into the game, for me, that would seem a pretty good reason to try to bow out. But as you can see, we got Kyle from Manic holding position, ready and waiting.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing here is to not panic, right? So Manic, they need to stay as calm as they can find it, just play at their strengths. And I mean, the position that we see coming through here from Wicked could pay them some great dividends, as Dark is still quite active, moving around, trying to clear out these positions compound by compound. But looking at Wicked now, moving even closer, this could be that angle that they need to bring in that repayment.
Oh boy, man, you are optimistic, DK. You are definitely rooting for an underdog situation right here, but to me, it seems like Dark Esports is really capitalizing here, not gonna afford Manic that opportunity as they are moving as one singular unit, I see. And but that shotgun can be an all-out game changer, and as you said, Wicked is really shining through here, but all for naught as Hellfire rains on him. And on top of that, gunfire as well to take him down. That is going to leave everything here on Koron for Manic, and he is coming in with that Vector. And
yeah, but those...
Yeah, at that point, it looked like, you know, Manic made a decision. They said, you know what, we could try to go for placement, or we could just go for the fight. And they made their choice, and unfortunately, they dug their grave in that one. But as we move forward, we catch eyes on Third Eye, who has smelled the blood in the water like some sharks, and they are coming in to try to pick off on Dark Esports before they can heal up. Unfortunately for them, Dark is already a fair way healed up in this situation with that compound cover.
Yeah, but what I'm liking coming through here from Third Eye is this kind of split up approach that they are taking. Obviously, we want to see a little bit more fortification. They are only pushing up as a two-player team here, so I'm not quite sure if these numbers are going to be working in their favor, as we do have the rest of the team situated towards that southern side. So if something goes wrong, it is going to be Third Eye now looking for a little bit of a rescue. But as we can see, the players there from Seren going to be occupying that lovely ruins as well as Tambang positioning. So it will allow them even more continuation come the next zone. But still, right, so many teams yet to get themselves secured within this next phase.
Yeah, it's interesting to note here that while, you know, these spreads are common on maps like Erangel and Miramar, it is a bit more rare that you see a spread like this on a map like Sandhawk. But as I've noted, for round 1 and 2, it still stands here just as equally here for round 3. A more passive early game is going to mean a more action-packed end game, but here we have it. SUK from Third Eye going out at it with that UMP 45 wrecking into Neo, getting the knock. He's got a thirst on his mind, but Neo's teammate gonna try to retaliate with some Hellfire nades. Unfortunately for him, not quite connecting.
Yeah, I mean, VN not finding that angle just yet. So I'm loving the position being held there by Sook, just positioned up alongside that tree. As you can see, of course, the players here from Dark Esports not having a very clear line of sight, but up comes Eclipse now, looking to bring in that extra bit of fortification. And this could be that turning point now for Third Eye.
And SUK giving Neo that false sense of hope, letting him think that he might get revived. Oh, but the heavyweights coming in for some action. They don't need this fight one bit. They don't need to take on this fight to advance, but they want the smoke, and they're coming in. Ace of Spades with a nice little third party. Oh, is Eclipsey going to be able to capitalize on that? And look at that, Ace of Spades unintentionally giving the assist to Third Eye.
Yeah. But now it's going to be the pressure, right? Eclipsey still having to push all the way through. It's not locked in just yet, right? The squad wipe not yet secured. So a little bit of pressure remains. But again, we're not seeing that full send coming through from the Third Eye team. Only having that one player on the front line.
That is somewhat surprising, yes, because they have to have accounted that they have taken out 3 members. So they know that at worst, if there is anyone left here in this this area, it's just one. It's got to be just one. So, yeah, if anything, this would be the time to move as a singular unit and check out building to building. I am surprised. Just like you said, I'm surprised they're not going for that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they think there's a more of a force there than what we really have available. But, I mean, the rest of the teams, they're not going to be holding back. Instead, we see them now starting to just descend down in towards the zone. Loving the kind of a rotation coming through there from the wildcard team as well, right? Taking that eastern angle, heading towards the southern coastline. But I think this next zone, this is going to be the deciding point. This is where we are going to be seeing a lot more of that aggression now starting to come through from our teams.
Yeah, and this is honestly an interesting position here for Third Eye, and you gotta hope that they live up to their name and are really utilizing that Third Eye, because they've got some opposition here in Team Seren. And as you can see, Dimple has a nice little position of cover, a great gun loadout, that 6x M4. As we see time and time again, that new meta seems to be, that combo seems to be that M4 UMP loadout, and Dimple is already ready and waiting to go here. This could be a pretty big point of contestation here for Third Eye. And they're
but as
spread
we
out.
can see, but they've also not yet spotted that player here, right, from Third Eye. So there is a bit of an opportunity here for Kunjun, maybe to try and play at a bit of a position. But once they make noise, Baron are just going to full send it. So again, this is where Third Eye needs those reinforcements.
Yeah, Kun Jae-don really does have kind of an interesting decision to make here, because while he might even get a line of sight on 1 to 2 people, he might even be able to secure 2 knocks, potentially even a thirst. But if he does engage on anyone from Seren at that point, he is very likely going to be targeted from the rest of them and just easily picked off. So he's going to have to resist that temptation to take that early shot.
Well, I mean, let's see whether or not they can resist all the temptations. Now, Balti also having to try and cover a little bit of ground just to rejoin back with the rest of that anchor point. But, I mean, not a super aggressive shift coming through. Meanwhile, it's going to be Sarah now receiving quite a bit of that aggression as Eight of Spades are looking to capitalize on their positioning, coming very close to center zone.
Now, DK, forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but it seems to me like throughout the entirety of this semifinal, Seren has been operating on this bit more reserved approach. They are not really being a very kill-intensive team from what I'm seeing. It looks like they're going to be prioritizing the placement here. And as we said in round 2, you know, placement is amazing. It's great. It's extremely helpful, but it is not quite enough to fully ride on and expect to advance towards the finals. So Seren really, time is of the essence in a situation like this. You've got to get aggressive at some point. And I think, you know, if you are going to pull out the waiting game, then you better do it with a sense of purpose and be ready to be on the all-out aggressive come-in game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely looking at Seren, they do have the opportunity, they do have the positioning to pull off quite a substantial play from this point. But are they going to be capitalizing on that? So I'm loving the awareness that we are seeing come through here from Butcher, really doing the due diligence, trying to ensure that they aren't going to get surprised And so far, it does seem to be paying off. As we can see, Tens now finding that angle over on towards Versa. But this is where I would be quite wary of the positioning coming through from Hashtag right behind them. That could be a little bit of a problematic angle.
Yeah, it really could. And it does look to me like Serin is primarily focusing on other teams. So this would be, as you said, the time for Hashtag to capitalize. And as we were just speaking about Serin, it absolutely equally applies to Hashtag that they have been playing a bit of a slower approach, a more reserved approach today. And they are going to need to put some of those kills on the board here. Now, here's
and
a
of
team.
course now. No, go on.
Well, here's a team, Road to Death, that has sort of been riding a bit of both spectrums here. They really capitalized and secured a third place early on in round one, but round two was not a fortunate one for Road to Death. They were eliminated much early on, and I don't remember quite how many kills they had on the board, if any. So this is a huge deciding match here for Road to Death, and they are going to have to not only get that placement, but they are going to need to be fairly kill intensive. They actually do have a fairly good chance at advancement here, given how well they placed in round one. But round two was not good for them. This is going to be where everything rides on for them.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. And of course, looking at their positioning, approaching the zone, they don't have that far to move as they're also about to just break out of the blue. You know, having a bit of safety towards that eastern side. They do have a few compounds to play on. But now looking on towards that southern edge and also taking a bit of a peek towards that western side, right? It is contested. We've got the players there from based on Bullet. They are going to be holding on to that beautiful elevation. That is going to allow them quite a bit of a vantage point down to our surrounding teams. But now it is going to be Emulate and, of course, the players here from Serin having to find that extra bit of approach back in towards that zone.
Yeah, based on Bullet does have some interesting positioning here. They have high ground. They're the closest to a central position in zone, but this is Sandhawk. And being in that central position, well, 90% of the time it can be advantageous. It could be a point of vulnerability here for them. However, that high ground is not to be underrated. Oh, all the while, we got Dauntless squaring off with Wildcard. We got Dogway coming in, UMP in hand. You know, that's interesting. He kind of bowed out of that advancement there when he had his opponent down below half health. But Nate, I see why. He's going to make it rain utilities. He's not going to play it up to chance. And look at Dogway just coming in, wrecking house with bullets to spare.
Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love these approaches. And now it all turns to Song, who gets run over. Viper playing such a bold approach here. Just risking it, hopping in the vehicle, and this is definitely not a map which we see a lot of that vehicle utilization coming through. But for Wildcard, it is all now down to Kiddo. He's going to be trying to just secure themselves something out in that blue. But again, the positioning here from Dauntless, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, here's to looking at you, kid. Best of luck. I hope it works out. As a solo, everything riding on you, you got to get out of there. That's your only shot. Now, all the while, look at this. Ace of Spades just going for it. I love to see this because this is a team that really had just so much comfort as they entered round three. They could essentially have just laid low and let the numbers dwindle down. Realistically, Ace of Spades did not need a single kill on the board to advance into round three. All they really needed was maybe a little bit of placement, not even good placement. Maybe just a little bit of placement, and they would probably stage themselves for advancement. But look at this. They decide to take on the confrontation anyway. I love to see it. Now you can see them targeting members of Hashtag here.
Yeah, and I mean, that targeting is going to be quite important, right? Looking to alleviate a little bit of the pressure in the surrounding area. But again, Ace of Spades, I mean, just making me swallow my words as I was saying that we saw quite a good position come through from Dauntless, but, you know, it was going to be Ace of Spades with that trick up their sleeves, just capitalizing on that surprise element. But now looking at what Elevate has to, or rather Emulate, also, quite a difficult approach, right? Moving in from that northern side based on Bullet, Arga still going to be locking in that elevation. And this is where Emulate are going to be having to work so hard to secure themselves into the zone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Based on Bullet has all the advantage here. They've got the high ground. They got the singular unit. They've got the Overwatch. This is a, it's going to be a bit of a trouble for their opponents here. Emulate is going to have to find a way to work their way up, and it's going to be tough as Akash does secure the knock on Bash with that M4. He does take some damage in the process, but he's got that boulder to heal up on. Ooh, but he decides time is of the essence, and he wrecks into Stranger. Look at this. Third Eye is eliminated. 10th place.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a bit of a tough play. But I mean, Emulate also not in the clear just yet. As you can see, Speed now getting taken on down as Akash just capitalized.
It's his third knock in like a minute. That boy had the best placement, the best positioning right there, and he just waited for the opportunities to present themselves to him. He didn't present themselves to the opportunity to his opponents. He just sat there and waited for them to make their move. And look at him go! He's got a knock on Trickster now. Akash really is just an in-game monster this round.
Yeah, Akash really on fire with the approach here, but now, I mean, fortunately, they do have a few smokes to pop just to try and bring in that extra bit of coverage. Meanwhile, the players here from Hitless now trying to bounce back, already locked in those 4 eliminations. Ooh, now Scratch that, make it 6 as they push on through. It is going to be Bolt, the players here from Based on Bullet now coming in with a quick response, but it's going to be Joker down and now turning over to Colin Trickster.
Yeah, honestly, Jokester came in not joking about anything with a quick takedown, but revenge served cold and fast. And looky here, we got, the hit list is, Trickster is down. We got eyes on Seren here. It's Tens aiming in at the Ace of Spades crew with Nemesis being knocked. Versa and Mom Bay still up. Versa, Mom Bay, and Blinky still up. Ace of Spades, still a 3-person formidable team here. And Tens just doesn't know who to focus on. He's got lines of sight on Road to Death as well.
Yeah, it's like Tens is stuck at the buffet and having a little bit of difficulty choosing where to go. Instead, Strictly trying to dispatch up that health bar as the blue zone is going to come swinging on through. It is going to be Wildcard taken down, and with that, it is the winner with a chicken dinner going straight over to Ace of Spades.
Well, you have got to give credit to where credit is due. Ace of Spades was the shining forerunner of this qualifier. That is not up for debate. They got a first place, they got a second place, and they got another first place. That is just basically, you can't deny that they were the heavy contenders, the forerunners carrying the aggression for this event today. Ace of Spades securing first place, 7 elimination, but look at that damage. Well over 2,000 damage. That means that
that is...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go. No, I mean, I was about to say that is only in one match, right? That is not for the day. That was just now on Sanok where they locked in 2,200 damage.
That, just for anyone who might not be very familiar with PUBG Mobile Esports, 2,000 damage is the equivalent of 20 knocks. And that's huge. And so while, yes, they might not have gotten a huge number of kills, they got a very healthy number. They got first place, and they just hurt everybody on the board. They hurt everybody on the board. And them placing this well, yeah, they have 100% secured their advancements to the finals of the campus championship. Undebatably, and extremely well deserved. And let's just give it credit to where credit is due. I mean, they had numerous heavy runners here, where Nemesis was the absolute score runner here for round 1 in Erangel. It was Mom Bay who was the point leader for his team on Miramar. Now you switch it over to Sandhawk, and Blinky is the one who puts up over half of the team kills. This is what I was saying last match. When it comes down to Ace of Spades, it really does seem like each member has their map specialty, and they know how to let each player sort of seize the reins of each map. And I love to see that.
Yeah, but it's great to see that balance come through with the team just being so capable. So you gotta love the action, right? But I mean, of course, our MVP, none other than as Blinky, taking the lead there with an insane number of points coming through with those 4 eliminations, over 1,000 damage, as well as bringing in the assists.
Yeah, so not only did he lead over half of the team's kills, he also acquired literally almost half of the team's damage all on his own. And this is just what I was saying. He does seem to be the shining runner here for Ace of Spades for round 3. Each player has their specialty, and Blinky is the Sandhawk master, at least for the Campus Championship qualifier. And now for the MVT, the most valuable team. This should come as no surprise to any of the viewers after what we have just said. A first place, a second place, and another first place. Yeah, the MVT is going to go to Ace of Spades for round 3 with 7 kills, well over 2,000 damage.
Yeah, it's always looking quite impressive to see what these teams are able to bring through out on the battlefield. You know, you got to give credit to the consistency that they were bringing in, but of course, we are going to be taking a bit of a look at based on bullet as well. As we can see, we already know the figures for Ace, but now look at Bob, right? It is right there, just 2 eliminations away, but it's quite a bit of a difference with regards to the amount of damage they've been able to find.
Yeah, 100%. As you can see from this damage, it does seem like based on bullet was essentially taking on less confrontation and doing so very effectively. They did so with a purpose because of those kills, they were, or of the damage that they did, they were able to acquire 5 kills out of that. Now you switch the script. Ace of Spades, 2,200 damage, only 7 kills. Admittedly, they were just hurting the entire map. They were shooting at everything, just causing just absolute mayhem wherever they were. And honestly, if you're Ace of Spades entering round 3 with that point, that little bit of cushioning, that much slack on your rope, yeah, I agree with what they did. I agree with going with that all-out aggressive approach. And no, you don't need to be preemptively focused on acquiring those kills if you're Ace of Spades, because you've already got the kills spoken for in rounds 1 and 2. So yeah, I agree with the way that they entered round 3, and boy, was it effective. It was effective. They are the most well-rounded, at least for these 3 matches.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep it up, right, while you're ahead and really just locking in as much of an impressive performance as they could bring through. And of course, we are going to be taking a look at our top 4 teams that really doubled down with the aggression and those eliminations. It's going to be Headless, who took that 7th place finish, but also then securing themselves 7 eliminations alongside the 1,245 damage they were able to find.
Yeah, and it's great to actually see this breakdown here, because while we talk about Ace of Spades damage being huge, if you aren't acquainted with the way this game works, then it really is just a number. But now, when you can compare it to the other top damaging teams, look at this. Ace of Spades almost doubling their 2nd place contender, at least of damage-wise. Literally, the Hitless put up 1,245. That's great damage. That's a lot. But look at Ace of Spades. Just all out mayhem, making it an absolute hassle for everyone else on this player board.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting to see them come the finals as well. Looking for that continuation, but of course they are going to be rounding off the day with 66 points alongside those 2 winner chicken dinners. As then we also have the players from Hitler secured into 2nd with 34 points.
Now, DK, I could be incorrect, but as these are the overall rankings, I believe that we can use this to actually just see who is going to advance here. So if that is correct, that means we got Ace of Spades, Hitless, Dauntless, Road to Death, Seren, Third Eye, Based on Bullet, and GNP advancing on to the finals. And that's a great lineup there. So we got our first half of our finalists decided. And tomorrow, 16 more teams are going to duke it out, contest to try to see who's going to advance, but only 8 more teams can go to face off for that finals, for that $8,000 prize pool.
I can tell you it's going to be quite exciting, right? If day 1 is anything to go on, really expecting quite a lot to see what then our Group B teams are going to be having out on that battlefield. I mean, Ace of Spades setting the standard, setting the bar exceptionally high. So curious to see if anyone's going to be able to replicate those points come tomorrow.
It's a good point, but let's check the flip side of that. Ace of Spades absolutely shining through, but after tomorrow, you know, that really, they've advanced. They've got that and the score resets. The clock goes back to 0, and it's all a fresh start for Ace of Spades. So that confidence cannot border on cockiness. They have to do everything that they did all over again. What has worked in these semifinals is essentially going to be a lot more difficult to pull off come finals, because it's going to be a lot more difficult. It's going to be only the finalists, only those best of the best that they're facing up against. So yeah, Ace of Spades is going to have to keep a clear head, not let this amazing, dominating performance in semifinals go to their head, because it's going to be all-out contention in the finals.
Yeah, but it also provides them with quite a bit of momentum, right? So it's not going to be as difficult for them to pick it back up again come the final. So a really phenomenal day coming through there for the players of Ace of Spades. And also got to commend Hitless, right? Also showing great consistency throughout the day, especially come the second and this third match. Really loving the kind of approach that they've been showing out on the field. And that's all going to come down to how these teams will be then able to replicate the efforts once they meet up in the finals again.
Yeah, and guys, just to reemphasize, all the teams that got here, they got here by winning their way up here. So everyone, kudos to even making it towards these semifinals. And then when you get here, literally only 3 matches. That's all you've got to really prove your worth and decide if you go on to the finals. So even if you weren't in the top 8 advancing teams, yeah, you absolutely deserved to be here. You earned your spot here, and you obviously are great teams. But guys, as it so happens, only 50% can advance, and there's only a small window of time to prove that worth. So congratulations to the 8 advancing teams. But as I said, that clock is going to reset, that score resets, and you're going to have to do it all over again for those finals. So I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I hope Ace of Spades can hold on with some momentum, but they need to do so with a very clear head that it's not going to be some easy walk in the park. Now, granted, they made it look pretty easy here in semifinals, but I'm curious, and I predict they're going to have a bit more difficulty moving forward into the finals. But guys,
well, I think...
go ahead.
No, I was about to say it all. I think it's all going to come down to what surprises tomorrow will hold for us as we get to see yet another group just showcase their talents out on the battlefield.
Yep, 16 more teams compete, but only 8 can advance. Guys, we are going to be coming at you same time, same place tomorrow for the Day 2, the Group B semifinals of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. And we really, really hope to have you guys all here and supporting the event as well tomorrow. And we got 3 more rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy. So hope to see you then. Until then, I'm Red Eyes. This is my main man, DK. And this is the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. Thanks again. Hope you had a good time. See you tomorrow.
Meet you.